Can I talk still? Can I ask you a question? Carol? Bonjour, everyone. Welcome to Effect House Office Hours, where all technical and non-technical questions are welcome. For those who don't know me, I am Nanda. I'm Europe Community Manager for Effect House, and I'm based in Paris. You might have seen me in Effect House Creator Camp in Paris back in December, or the Grand Palais activation that we had back in June. But anyways, nice to meet you all. And today I'm joined by August, who is our interactive engineer. Hi, August.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How's it going?
It's going great.
Good. So, I would you mind? Can you help us explain your role as the interactive engineer for Effect House?
Yeah, an interactive engineer is sort of this role that is half design and half engineering. And I work with a lot of engineers that do a lot of hardcore coding, as well as a lot of designers who make a lot of art assets and kind of help plug them together and come up with ideas for how to use these tools that we create. So things like microjams, for example, is a great example of what an interactive engineer can do.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. So, can you explain to us what the Microgem series is?
Yeah, sure. Microjams are a series of templates, some tutorials, um, some techniques, just different ways that you can do things in Effect House. And kind of the whole point of these tutorials and projects is to inspire people to think of unique ways that you can use this tool, things that are right in front of you that you could do all along. And I just want to open your eyes to them. Yeah.
That sounds so cool, August. So, for those of you who haven't tuned into August Microgem series, I highly recommend for you to tune into those. So, Microgem series is just as just August said, is a series that is unique and awesome. And that's where he will teach us all on how to learn to use Effect House like a pro and get tons of inspirations. I see we already have lots of people joining us in the chat here. I see Celine. Hi, Celine. I hope you're enjoying your time at the beach. And I also see Fam. Hi, so nice to see you here. I also see Julien from Paris. Hi, Julien. Oh, and Bruno from Brazil. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Okay, so if you guys do have any answers, please feel free to leave them in the chat box or in the Discord of Effect House in the Ask a Question channel. Now, let's get on to programming. As you know, we have started releasing the 2.2.0 software. August, would you mind showing us some of the new features that we have?
Yeah, so in 2.2.0, we've been just expanding some of the visual scripting stuff, such as if you create, let's just create a subgraph real quick so I can talk about some of these awesome highlights. So if you notice, whenever you have an input, one of the recent changes is just being able to select more types, as well as notice the material, for example, and being able to switch some types to the array type. And this allows you to use the get item from array node, which has been here for a while, but it was previously only really useful with the get face points and a couple other arrays. So now that we have this, we can input all kinds of different types of arrays into our subgraph to make it super easy for us to make a subgraph where you don't have to attach a bunch of objects separately. So for instance, if you were making a keyboard and there were many keys, maybe instead of manually adding them, you could input them here. You could also add them by increasing this list by pushing the plus button. But then when you get it in here, you might make a for loop, and then your for loop will control which object you're getting, and you can use it just like if you've ever written code. It's similar to that for loop. If you haven't written code, then you can think about it in a way where it's going to do the same thing for each object that you're inputting from this array, and this body event is going to be doing that part. So that's just kind of a preview. I hope it makes it kind of a little more clear about like how it can reduce the tedious tasks and make things a lot more automated if you can set them up like this. That's really huge. The get component by type node is also going to help with this type of thing, because a lot of times in subgraphs you could import as other, and that's kind of the main way to import different components. But now you could just import one scene object that has a bunch of different components, and you could use multiple get component by type nodes to get everything you need off of each object. So if you're getting 3 different components, like the image, the transform, something else like that, then this will make it so that you only have to put one in, and you could automate the rest by getting all the components programmatically. So those things help with very complex subgraphs, making them more reusable in the future, so that you can make something and then you don't have to remake it the next time you want to do that. Really awesome. As you can see, I have, if you can see my screen, I have the bald GAN, which is a generative effect that we call hair eraser. So it's using generative effects to show what you would look like if you were bald on top of your head. You can see you can see the AI in progress by the way that it's showing my ear over this headphone, which is pretty funny. it's almost as if it thinks the headphone is my hair, or it just wants to add an ear in case hair is covering my ear. So that's kind of funny. That kind of gives you a little insight into how it's working. If you look into stuff like that and understand kind of how it's working better, you might be able to push it to its limits. I just wanted to give this example of a cube to give a quick kind of like hint about how this is working as well. Notice the cube renders in front of the generative effect when it's in the same render node. We can actually put it behind the hair eraser if we want to see it render behind that as well, just to get more information about how it's working. These are just little experiments you can do in the tool to understand the new features better. And just one last thing, notice that if you change your 3D camera, which is often denoted by this perspective camera type, you can change it to a 2D camera or orthographic camera. Now, orthographic just changes how this frustum operates. But notice that even though this frustum that shows what it can view, even though that changes significantly to where the cube isn't even on screen anymore, the generative effect still stays on the face. So you can use the generative effects with the 2D or 3D camera, and it works fine. I think those are some of the highlights. The other one might be cat face stretch. That's definitely worth showing. In case you haven't seen this, it's the same as the human face stretch, but it works on cats. So I guess we could.
Oh my God, that looks so cute.
Yeah. So is there anything else specifically?
Yeah. Oh, well, so far, we just did a poll. If everyone thinks you look better with or without hair, about 40% of them said that you need to get rid of them all.
Get rid of my hair?
Well, yes. So like, maybe you're saying?
Well, if the chat said it, then I guess I have to do it. There's no way around it.
So Haley Catpaws here says she loves the new Balt features and generative effects. I saw some other people who just joined, who just tuned in. Hi, Sitan, and hi, Mike. Actually, Player2 Studio asked, hey, August, could you show us again how to rearrange render order when a 3D image is inside the hierarchy of another 3D image?
Change the render order when a 3D object is inside the hierarchy
of another 3D object.
Okay. So yeah, maybe you can get some clarity on that question. Was it in relation to this generative effect?
Yes, I think so. So Julien, maybe you can help us specify what your question is about in the chat box, and we will try to get back to you. And I see Filter Dank here just tuned in. Hello. And Reem said, we want a beard eraser.
Nice.
Okay, Julien just left another comment. He said, I want the image inside of the hierarchy to render behind.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this is pretty relevant still. So this cube, you notice, is a 3D object, right? We'll switch this back to a 3D camera just so this makes more sense. So the rendering order, there's a lot of different details to know about rendering before you like fully grasp the whole kind of pipeline. But the main thing here would be the auto sorting. When you uncheck this box, you can control the sorting order. When you click this box and it's auto sorting, it's actually going to change this sorting order based on where it is in the current hierarchy. So notice it changed from 0 to 1 just when I dragged this from above the hair eraser to below the hair eraser. That's because it's auto sorting it. If we look at the hair eraser, it also has this. From basically from what you can find, if you just look through all the objects, you'll notice that anything that has a mesh renderer and is in 3D basically has this sorting order. And so you can notice, I'll just do this as an example, but if you turn off the auto sorting for each of these, then you can basically change which one renders in front just by changing the sorting order, even though they're still organized like this in the hierarchy. So that's one way. One other thing you have to be aware of, just as important, is if you have a material, when you go down into your render state, you're going to have all of these depth functions. And this is just something to be aware of and to experiment with on your own, because these are more for more complex setups. So sometimes you might want to not check if you're overlapping something. Or sometimes you'll want to render something into the screen without writing at what depth you're writing it to. So these little checkboxes and this function will help you render complex objects in a certain order. I think of things like smoke rendering over a beam of light or something like that, where it starts to get complex and you need blend modes and you need to know that the smoke is always going to render in the foreground, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, August. I hope that helps, Julia. Please feel free to leave another question if you have any other ones, or if you didn't think that was answering. And Seagraph Shorts asked, I wanted to know, is it possible to create a tap image effect with the 3D element to image?
In the current version, we don't have that yet. I could show you a workaround for the time being, but yeah, maybe we can do that next week or the week after. I think would be better, because I think we'll have a better answer then.
Okay, Sitan. So let us get back to you next week with the answer to your question. The next one, we have a question from Filter Dunk. I have a question regarding shadows. For whatever reason, I rarely can get shadows to work with my FBX models, especially if the FBX has multiple meshes. FBX animations, might I add.
Okay, with FBX animations. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure why that would be. I personally, every time I've had an FBX, it seems like the shadows work. This might be the type of thing you want to ask in the support channel, and maybe report it as to see what support you can get with that.
Okay, so Filter Dang, feel free to head on over to our Discord. We just posted the link to join our Discord server in the chat, and you can leave this feedback there. We also have another question from Haley Cat Paws. What would be the best way to do a glow/blooming effect? For example, something like a glow-in-the-dark necklace with light glowing off of it.
Yeah, so the bloom effect, as you might know, is something you can just add through post-processing, post effects. So there's the filter, which is the lookup table filter, and also a customizable filter. And then there's bling, and then there's other post-processing. So oh, sorry. Accidentally clicked bling. But post-processing is where you'll find all of the other effects, and bloom is just one of them. So you notice bloom affects the entire screen. So this is where you get that kind of glow. So that's how you add it. And then if you take a look at the materials, we have a lot of different materials, and we've been adding more of them. In the standard PBR, there's also this new rim highlight. So if we take off this and we And wait. Oh, I turned off the camera, not the hair eraser. Okay, sorry. So if we switch this material, we can mess with the rim highlighting, and you can see that new feature, and that might give you some of what you're looking for. Yeah, you can see it's kind of adding that intensity to the edge glow. Yeah, I hope that's kind of in the direction you're looking for.
Yeah, wow. That's super cool. Thanks so much, August. Haley, I hope that answers your question. I see Fran has also joined our stream. I hope Fran will be the one hosting soon. Give what would Fran like best? Give a lipstick emoji in the chat section if you want to see Fran hosting next. So I see that most of the people in our chat have checked out our latest 2.2.0 version. Let's wait to see for others to vote. And oh, Haley said, awesome, thank you so much. Haven't tried Rim Glow yet. Yeah, so you should totally try that out. And we can't wait to see the effect you created with it. Oh, by the way, August, I actually received lots of questions lately. How do I go around to create a photo booth effect?
A photo booth effect is a pretty good one because it's it's kind of slightly complex. So I can show you the simplest way to do it.
Oh yes,
maybe
please.
we'll turn off the generative effects camera, and actually the other one too. We'll just set up a 2D scene where we have a camera and an image. Now, the first thing I like to do, just because most of my objects stretch, is switch my stretch mode to stretch. And this looks a little more familiar to the way the old images stretched, and there's a lot of use cases this works for. There's also a lot of use cases for fit. Maybe I'll show that off as well if there's a question that covers it. And then we'll go to built-in textures, and we will put, actually, we'll go to set texture because we're going to set this texture. Next, we want to pull up a snapshot node, and for the snapshot node, what we want to take is this 2D camera's render texture. So we can get the render texture, plug it in, and that means that this 2D camera will see what it's rendering now will be saved in this snapshot. So I guess for this texture, we'll want to have the camera texture. And now it looks visually, it looks the same as whether this image is on or off because it's the actual camera input. So it just looks the same, but it's there. And then what we might want to do here, this is our capturing camera. So one good thing to do, 2D capture camera. One good thing to do is when you start adding multiple cameras, just always start naming things because it can get very confusing very fast when you start getting more complex. So camera input texture, and then you want to duplicate. And then this one is final camera. So you need 2 cameras for this setup. Final, we'll just call this snapshot, our snapshot image. And this is actually the one we want to set, not the other one. So this is our snapshot. This is going to display what we've snapshotted. This is our 2D capture camera render texture. So this is what we're capturing from. And then say we want to do a screen tap to trigger this thing. And notice the order. So this is on the top, final camera's on the bottom. So the order of these cameras is going to go from top to bottom. So that's why we see the snapshot last. So what happens is this 2D capture camera renders the camera input, and then we take a snapshot of it. And then this final camera shows the snapshot at the last part. And if you want to, and see, I just tapped the screen and that's why it froze. So if you want to get a little safer with it, I would say this final camera, you could switch it to like layer 1 and just make sure that your snapshot is on a separate layer. That way, there's never a chance that you can keep adding more things to the scene, and you can kind of know that one is working on one layer and the other is working on another layer, and they're not going to interfere with each other. And that way, for example, you can put this up here, and when I screen tap, okay, it's going to do the whole thing actually. So that's not perfect. If you want to avoid the screenshot including this, including itself, you'll create a render texture, and you'll just make sure that the capture camera has its own render texture. And then if you do that, you can take as many screenshots as you want, and it won't grab that extra piece. So that adding this render texture just means this whole functionality basically happens after these cameras are both done writing out their render textures. So if they use the same one, if they both use final render out, then they're going to both be writing to the same texture before you snapshot it. So that's just why having a render texture, keeping both cameras separate, means you can capture what's on just this camera and not both of them. So that's a way to do it.
Okay, hopefully. Thank you. Thank you so much, August. Now I know what to say to people when they ask me, how do I go around to make a photo booth effect? Or I can just send them the link to this live. And nice. We're actually running out of time, but we have one last question from Seagraph Shorts. Regarding the creation of an earring through the template, for example, how to create a kind of second face or mask in order to half hide. Sorry, half hide the first element of the earring in order to have a more realistic rendering.
Maybe we could open that template. So we're talking.
August,
so
you look hot.
Yeah, I thought you guys didn't want hair, but now you're changing your minds, I guess. So the earring element is basically a chain of shapes, right? So yeah. I'm assuming the question is asking, like, how do we hide the first shape? So you can have your dynamic chain with this mesh render. You don't have to render it for one thing. So you can just click off the mesh render and it'll still behave the same, but without that first piece. So if you want like just kind of an anchor point, anchor position, and then you want things that are all attached to it, that's one way. Just turn off the mesh render, or I haven't tried this on my own, but we can try just removing the mesh render and seeing what happens. It seems to still work perfectly fine. So you don't need a mesh render. You just need the 3D transform to give it a position and rotation and everything.
Oh, okay. So, Sitan, I hope that answers your question. So, yeah. We're at the end of our stream now. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I see August is still having fun with his purple hair and the bouncy earrings. But thank you so much for coming to the live. If you have more questions, you can leave them in Ask the Question channel on our Discord, or you can also attend Office Hour with August at the same time next week. Additionally, we also have another webinar actually this Thursday where our product manager, Weston, is going to teach you how to use eyebrow editor templates. So don't forget to tune in by then. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks so much, August, for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for hosting.
All right. See you guys pretty soon. See you guys soon. And August, hope to see you in your next office hours.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everyone.